anything, you know what I'm talking about. Let anything. Nah, I don't have to say it right now. Don't worry about it. I don't got to say it up here. Let anything happen. And I'm going to show you and him. Bet.
In shape, 145.
Yeah.
In shape. You know what I mean? So this is different from a Crawford coming up to 168, but we know his walk around weight.
Somebody, you angry at a kid, I'm a fighter. If I touch you in any kind of way, like, far as I'm gonna hurt you. So it wasn't that. It was just me removing her from that situation. That
It is probably 170, 180.
The fight that I couldn't believe, that was too insane and honestly just baffling to think would be a real fight in 2025, reminds you that combat sports are the...
Is there any like positive reassuring things that maybe you can, you know, in a situation of a fighter who's, you know, the whole world's against them at the moment, and kind of
just stay prayed up, talk to God, you know what I mean, and keep the faith. That's all that counts, and God will see you through.
Awesome, appreciate it.
And truly, when people run back this press conference, all the shit talk, all the fun, they're gonna be like, wow, this kid really is doing something monumental in the sport, and he's actually an insane boxer. And I'm gonna show that this guy who's been doing it his whole life has been doing it wrong his whole life.
What'd you say, Tank? He said he gonna outbox me. Whoop-de-doo. Say that.
The one thing, when you have a fight of this magnitude, especially with Jake, because his appeal has been global, for you, Tank, do you think this is one of those fights where now all of a sudden you can show your boxing skills on a global scale to maybe people who weren't interested in boxing? All of a sudden they say, well, who is this guy?
Yeah, it's actually like, you know, now that I'm looking at it now, it's just...
And once I seen her, I grabbed her by her neck. I just told, I grabbed her like I should, like, you gotta get out of here type thing. Like, and I probably was wrong for doing that. I was wrong for doing that. But it wasn't so much of a, not me trying to hit her or...
Tank Davis did something awful again, and no, it wasn't scheduling another fight with Jake Paul. He beat a woman. Again. And once again, I'm not talking about Jake Paul. If you know Tank Davis, you know he has a lot of run-ins with the law. But this is actually a civil suit over a certain criminal case that...
This time, Jake Paul is to take on Tank Davis. Tank Davis, he was recently in the news for being arrested for a domestic violence incident involving one of his kids' mother. He was alleged to have slapped her about the place. The charges were later dropped, to be fair to him. But yeah, that was when he was last in the news. What is interesting is just a couple of months ago, Tank Davis was saying openly that he'd lost his passion for boxing and that he wanted time away from the sport. There was speculation that he might even retire as he was experiencing extreme mental fatigue from boxing, depression, and there were mental health concerns over him. However, I guess the opportunity to earn a truck full of money, fighting a completely worthless exhibition fight against Jake Paul was enough to make him change his mind about boxing. Funny that, isn't it? But you know what? I'm not even going to waste your time or mine critiquing this utter nonsense.
From my understanding, it's a civil suit. It probably could turn into worse. A woman who is a waitress at a club. So I don't know all the details. You guys to check the details, but
Rand saying, "Oh, you're keeping me from making money and this and that and fighting." No, you have to go by the law, by the rules. You have a contract with DAZN. You have a contract with Golden Boy. It just doesn't happen that way. So, anyway, until next time, we'll see you Saturday for Virgil Ortiz. But again, Ryan Garcia's next fight will be announced by me, who he's fighting, and when he's fighting.
The Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, what was your opinion on that?
It was all right, you know. It's kind of like what it was. Mr. Fake. You know.
If Jake Paul calls you for early next year, is that what you want to do?
Yeah, let's run that.
Suffice to say that this so-called fight we're talking about is an exhibition, and it pits Jake Paul, who is a cruiserweight, by the way, weighs in excess of 200 pounds. And Tank Davis, who is, he was the WBA lightweight champion, who weighs in at about 135 pounds when he fights. So that's a disparity of some 65 pounds. In old money, that's about 4.5 stone. There's also a significant difference in height. Jake Paul is roughly, 6'1", 2. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" at best. So, there's a height disparity there of some 8 inches. And once again, this is Jake Paul showing total disrespect to boxing, in my opinion. Once again, continue to pimp out the sport for his own financial ends. And worse still, the powers that be in boxing allowing him to get away with it and facilitating this utter bullshit. And meanwhile, what's even worse about this is that the WBA lightweight title that Tank Davis should be defending against Lamont Roach in a
This looks really bad for him. While all the details aren't out, we know the details from the original case, which was basically a shut case with a lot of evidence that he did it. That, along with his prior incidents, innocent until proven guilty, but yeah.
Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, trying to push toward his goal of ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be, because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, and be like, okay, that's a real fight, or that's a real fighter. And he'll go and he'll win the fight. Julio Cesar Chavez, real fighter, maybe past his prime, whatever, but Jake goes and wins that fight pretty easily, and then gets a lot of respect, gets a lot of the boxing hardcore love. And
what's up, guys? Happy Saturday. So I wake up to calls from reporters asking me about Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia. Let me just tell you why this fight is not going to happen. Ryan Garcia fights for DAZN, and Jake Paul fights on Netflix. I mean, that's pretty much the bottom line. Golden Boy has a contract with DAZN. Ryan Garcia has a contract with Golden Boy. And that's just the way it is. I mean, this is business.
You have these talks about him fighting Anthony Joshua, and that was going to get even more respect. More people were like, that's fucking crazy. What are you doing? Myself included. That seemed like a massive risk, but a lot of people were like, okay, fair play. Anthony Joshua, that's a real heavyweight. Jake wants to fight him. He's a psycho, but fair play. And then you announce this one, and it's like, well, that's the same thing people have been saying about Jake for years, so it's a weird spot to be in for him for sure. But I talked about this not being the first choice, and I don't think it was, because Coppinger reports next that talks for Jake Paul to face Anthony Joshua collapsed over network issues. Now, we had all heard the talks, and they were pretty public, from Eddie Hearn, from Jake. Nakisa Badarian, Jake's manager, was over in the UK on, I think, Sky Sports, talking about the fight.